Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this card. This is another of the cards that I'm calling Simple and Beautiful, and so these are cards that make the DSP designer series paper that we have work a little harder to make making a card pretty simple. So let me show you the pieces that we're going to need to make this card. We need a piece of Very Vanilla 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. Then we need 2 pieces of designer series paper. The first one measures 3 1/4 by 5.5, and this one measures 1 1/2 by 5.5. And this paper is from the series called Bundle of Love Specialty Designer Series Paper. And what I'd like to show you about this paper is there's 3 patterns in here. I'm using 2 of the patterns, and the third pattern is this one, kind of a speckled or almost a animal print, if you will. And the way this works is this has 3 designs, the ones that you see here, the chevron, the spots, and then this elongated design. And much of our designer series paper that is foiled like this is plain on the other side. These all have designs on them that match the pattern, and each of them has a bit of blue pattern and a bit of pink pattern that matches the foiled side. So there's 4 sheets of each pattern, so 3 patterns and 4 sheets. It's 12 sheets total, 2 with blue on the back of each pattern and 2 with pink on the back of each pattern. So a little different for some of our very specialty designer series paper, and again, that's called Bundle of Love, and it really is very pretty. And for this card, we're going to have it do all of the heavy lifting. So in addition to these pieces, I have a piece of gold foil that measures 1 inch by 5.5, and then I have 2 pieces of scrap, 1 in gold foil and 1 in Very Vanilla for our sentiment here. They have a little bit of embellishments. So the other material I'm using from Seasonal Framelits, I'm using this scallop, and I'm going to leave that out because I want to show you how I place that for the design here. And then the stamp sets I'm using the Label Me Pretty stamp set that is this design here for this outline. And then I'm using Happy Anniversary from the Beautiful Bouquet set, and here is the Happy Anniversary right here. So that is what I'm using for making this card. So let me tell you about what I did to the card front here. I folded, well actually before I folded my card, what I did was I took this scalloped edge and I put it across my card so that these 2 indentations here, one on this side, this little V, and the little V on this side, matched up to the edges of the card, and I set this back on the card about 1/2 inch, and I used a little bit of washi tape to kind of hold that in place, and I ran that through the big shot, and when I was done, this is the piece that I got back. So it has this scalloped edge to it, and that's what I did to get this piece here. Okay. Then I took this piece of gold foil and I did exactly the same thing. Now, this was a little trickier to cut out I will say that it cuts out fine. I mean, there's no issue with cutting out. It is the gold foil itself. When I ran it through the first time, I'll show you the card that I got. I got all of these little ridges on the exterior of the card, and that's from the pressure of the die going through the Big Shot machine. So then I tried cutting it and just putting it down on the outside of the card and turning it over, because I thought, well, then I'll turn it over and cut it from this side, and it picked up all of the little scratch marks on my cutting plates. And actually, it's not a bad looking design if you look at it as a design element. So the final thing that I did was to put a piece of copy paper between the foil and this die. So, and I ran this right up to the edge of the gold foil, and I ran it through, and this is what I got. Now, it didn't completely take away the mark here, but I've decided to embrace it. It looks like a little bit of more of a design element, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So this is the way it came out, and that's the way I'm going to use it. And I think that's going to work. We'll see here. So what we're going to do, this card is actually quite fast once you get rolling on it and you have your pieces cut out. Okay, so I'm going to put this piece along here, and so that it covers all of the Very Vanilla, because I don't want any of the Very Vanilla to show, and putting it right up against the edge here so that you can't see the other paper from the inside. So I'm going to use some snail to put that piece in place. And I'm going to use actually quite a bit of snail because I want this to really stick down, and I don't want this moving around or lifting up or any of the things that like that it might do. So I'm making sure I get plenty of glue along the scallops here and along the edge. And then I'm going to put this in place. So there we go. And then we are going to work next on this piece here. And I'm using some of our 1/8 of an inch gold ribbon, and I'm putting that ribbon on here up about, oh, maybe 1.5 inches. Yep, right around 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is put some snail on the back side of my card, and I'm going to use the chevron pattern to help me get this on here straight. So up about 1.5 inches is right about here. So I'm going to start my ribbon right about here, put that in place. Then I'm going to add a little bit of snail to the back of the ribbon so it'll stay put on the front of the card as well. So then I'm going to draw this across and use the chevron pattern to help me get this on here straight. Okay. I think that's straight. Then I'm going to wrap it around one additional time so the ribbon kind of butts up against the other ribbon that's already in place, not leaving any gap between the two of them, and wrapping this around on this side to get an anchor here. All right, there we go. So now I have my ribbon wrapped around here. Then I'm going to take a piece of ribbon and I'm going to make a bow. And I'm going to use a glue dot to stick this ribbon on my card. And I'm going to put that glue dot right on the knot and stick that bow right in the middle of my card. There we go. And if it doesn't stay down, you can always add additional glue dots, but I think that's gonna hold. All right, so now this is ready to be, add some more snail and get that piece put into place on my card. And for this, I want to make sure that I've used my bone folder here to get this card to lay flat. And I'm going to set this piece so that, again, it covers all of the Very Vanilla, covers the card top to bottom without leaving any gap. And there we have that front of the card, and it already is beginning to look pretty darn good. All right, so now I'm going to add some adhesive to this piece. This was the piece that was 1.5 by 5.5, and I'm going to open this and I'm going to place this one right along the edge here, again not leaving any margin of the vanilla on here, and getting that right up against the very edge of the card. Putting that in place, and it looks like I have a small gap on this side, so I'm just going to trim away the edge there. Okay, there we go. So now when I close my card, I now have basically 3 elements. I have the chevron pattern, I have the scallop, and then I have this other lovely pattern on the inside. The benefit of that, of course, is when you open the card, you already have some decoration on the inside and still plenty of place to put your additional personal sentiment. Okay, next is making the label for the front of our card, and we're going to use the label punch. And on the piece of gold, I'm just going to punch out the label, and then I am going to use my snips, and I'm going to cut that right down the middle in half. And get it ready for what we're going to do next. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, okay, so what I'm going to do is take this stamp from the Label Me Pretty stamp set, and I'm going to treat my area here with my embossing buddy, and I'm going to stamp this image on my piece of scrap here. And then I'm going to put some embossing powder on my image. And there we have the image with the embossing powder. And I'm going to take my heat tool, wiping away any extra powder here that I see. And I'll quiet the video. Okay, so there's the outline of my label stamped. Now I'll bring in my pierce mat because my second image to stamp is a photopolymer, so it will need the cushion. And I'm going to put my happy anniversary here, get plenty of Versamark on it, and nice flat surface here. Hopefully I'm not getting my head in the video. And this happy anniversary just fits in this area. In fact, it's curly cues kind of combined with the curly cues that are already on the label, and that actually is just fine for me. So there's my image. Now I'll bring back my embossing powder here and put some embossing powder on my sentiment, and I think I'm happy with that. So let me move this out of the way and bring back my heat tool. And okay, there we go. I have a pretty happy anniversary, and the reason I like this label for this is that it also, with the card having these scallops in it, this stamp also has scallops in it, and from a design standpoint, having the elements complementary to one another, I think is something that kind of works for this card. Now I'm going to bring in my label punch here, and I am going to center this and punch out that sentiment and move these things out of the way. And now we're ready for the next pieces for this card. So I'm going to add some snail along the outside edges of the back of this label here. And then I'm going to take these gold foil pieces and attach them in such a way that I'm going to try and make those ends disappear behind the label. And it doesn't always work, in which case you just snip off anything that is left that runs into the that shows on the outside. Then I'm going to take the other piece and put it in place. And I don't think I need any trimming on that one. And there you can see that my happy anniversary is now rimmed in the gold. Okay, so now I am going to raise this on dimensionals. So we're ready then to add our happy anniversary right here in the middle on the front of our card. And we have a few little embellishments to add. I used these gold faceted gems, and I chose 3 of the very largest ones here and put them at the top, on the center, and on the bottom of my card. And there you have our finished project for the day. And again, it is fast and simple, and I think very pretty card. Somebody, I think, would be very proud to get this card for an anniversary, and it looks like we put tons of work into it, and we have let the DSP do the work for us. Anything that you see here can be ordered on my 24/7 shop, lbettinger.stampinup.net. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. People who order with me get a reusable card at the end of the month and a little product gift from me. And then all people who order from me are entered into a drawing. And this month, the prize for the drawing for the month of August is one of these Love Today planner kits. Wonderful kit. Has the month on 2 pages that you can see, plus the week by week that follows that. A place for lists. It's got these wonderful pockets for putting notes or coupons or whatever you'd like in there. It's got some post-it notes, stickers to decorate up the front of your book or in place as you go, and these little pockets that you can put pictures in. You can put sayings in. There's a lot that you can do with it, and this is a little page finder that helps you figure out right where you are for the current day. So that is the prize draw for this month. I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. The details for joining my team are always listed just below the video, and Stampin' Up! Has an offer, and then I have an additional offer that I put on for people who join my team. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. And until next time, with more cards and projects, bye!